What's up, A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. Hope everybody had a good weekend. A couple trophies handed out over the weekend in the NBA and college baseball as LSU gets its second in 3 years. And the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 7, they win. They beat the Pacers. And we'll talk about Tyrese Halliburton and the Achilles situation that happened that we all saw coming, it felt like. But we're going to have a conversation about that, and I've reached out to the Bone and Joint Institute because the Achilles tendon injury is something that Titans fans are going to be paying attention to more and more as we approach training camp because of Lloyd Cushenberry. So we'll discuss that about towards the back half of the show before Rockin Rando with the Achilles situation here. But Easton, Big Jeff, new deal. Does Jeffery Simmons deserve a new contract? He could put the Titans in a rock and a hard place type spot with his contract, and you will discuss kind of some of the just random summer research that you've done on contract situations through the team and what you discovered of like, hey, does Big Jeff need a new contract? Does he have a point? Does he have a right to get a new contract? Does he have any leverage over the Titans, or the Titans going to have him in a spot where he is just going to be playing on this particular contract that Easton will dive into about what the details of it are, and we'll go through that conversation. So Easton, welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. Into the summer we continue. You got to watch Billy Madison at some point this week. We'll figure out what day.
Yeah, I forgot that's on the docket.
How can you forget already?
I am a very forgetful person. Sometimes I put information that I don't find is necessary out of my brain very quickly, but that's exciting. That's good news. I'm looking forward to that one, and looking forward to continuing our summer movie series. I believe that this one's gonna make me laugh, which I think is an exciting thing because I love stupid humor. We got a great show today. Looking forward to talking about the Jeff Simmons contract and some Achilles talk. Keep chugging along here in the summer. We are in the real heart of it. I mentioned this the other week. It does not feel like it's almost July, but it is almost July, which is crazy.
That's a good thing, though, right?
Well, yes.
For us.
The older I get, the more guilty I feel for like wishing away days of my life. So like I'm trying to enjoy.
Come on, dude. You're 25. Like, come on.
No, I know. It's mostly with having a kid. Like,
don't act wise yet.
No. It's mostly the kid thing. No, it's like I'm wishing away months of their childhood, and everybody's like, well, you're gonna miss this. So I'm trying not to miss this. But it is almost July, which is really exciting because that means we are inching our way closer and closer to football being back, which is awesome. We got a great show, and we need you to do a couple things before we get into all of it this morning. Like the show, number one, on Facebook, on YouTube, hit that like button. We appreciate you doing that. I don't think you can like the show on Twitch, but if you can, do that as well. We got a couple Twitchers in the chat last week, so I don't want to just pretend that you guys don't exist. I see you. I recognize you. Thank you for being with us here on a Monday morning. And then jump in the comments. Yes, they do exist. And then jump in the comments with Stephen, Joshua, Jay, Gabriel, who asks a good question this morning. Stephen, Jonathan, good morning. Ira Hoshi, some familiar faces. Want to hear y'all's thoughts on Big Jeff, the player who I believe is the best player on the Titans roster, who is being paid very handsomely, and whether or not that pay should change in the near future. A very polarizing, maybe the most polarizing player on the Titans roster. Austin, I know you and I go back and forth on the Jeff Simmons of it all the time. So looking forward to doing that with you this morning.
Yep. So let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports here live on a Monday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, our Titans reporter for A2ZSports.com. And we're Nashville's on-demand sports.network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Do it. Leave us a 5-star Google review. You can say anything you want in the 5-star Google review within reason. And as long as it's 5 stars, that we will not report it if it's 5 stars. So you can do that right there. But also make sure you support our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. And that is Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process, even in Lebanon or online, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And our friends at Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They're local and online at bartondrury.com. East, I've seen you favorited several comments
There's some interesting stuff in the chat today, Austin.
Really? Why? Well, like, what do you see in here?
Well, first of all, Big Ten Jeff not putting together the Achilles portion of today.
Come on, guys. No
Roman sad face. No, that'd be Achilles who we're referencing there.
I thought that was clever. I
got what you're doing. 100%. Yes. I get it. Yes.
Come on, Jeff.
Here's a one sentence answer question for you to start off our show, which I find this interesting. Gabriel asks, when was the last time you sprinted as fast as you can? When was the last time you hit your top speed, Austin?
I mean, treadmills can't handle me, so I don't know. It's been a while.
Oh, okay. So you need to hit the track is the problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, okay, let's see. Last summer, like pre-pregnancy, when I was doing a lot of like HIIT training.
There you go.
There would be absolutely times where I do like the all outs of I did Orange Theory guy back in the day. Haven't done it, but 30-second to 45-second minute all outs at 15, which is the max speed.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I've been doing mile time training the past couple months, and just trying to shave time off of my own mile time, which started at an embarrassing number like 3 months ago. My mile time was like north of 9 minutes. I am inching my way. I'm almost to the sub 7 minute portion.
There you go.
My record at the moment is like 7:15. And every time I do it, I just shave a second or two off. And the very end of that, I'm sprinting as fast as I can. Now, you can question whether that's as fast as I can or not, because that's at the end of almost a mile. But I am giving it my all. Gabriel asks because apparently a stat came out that more than 50% of people never sprint again after high school.
Yeah, I believe that. Crazy. That's crazy. I believe that, but I love sprinting. I would much rather sprint than
distance run.
Yeah. So here's the problem with me, because the Orange Theory has like they have like distance challenges, and I'm like, if I just run faster, I will be done sooner.
Right.
Like if I go faster, I'll be done with the endurance test sooner.
Right.
So that's how you ask me my fastest.
You're the guy that likes to run up the hill instead of walk up the hill.
I used to run home from the bars in Knoxville. True story.
Just sweat that alcohol out right away.
Whenever I would have like my residence in eyesight, just sprint the rest of the way to get home faster.
I like that mindset. Just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yes. So no, I haven't sprinted in, I don't know, not quite a year, but anyway. Yeah,
hey,
Troy,
get out there and sprint this week.
How about that? Troy says 4:58 best mile.
That's
we can't prove it, but good for you, Troy.
Well, I'm not built for distance running. Like I don't have long levers. I'm not a tall guy. I'm not like a slender build. Like it's not my thing. So I've never touched a
mile is not distance, but that's them's the crazies whenever they say a mile is not distance running.
I think a mile is people that say miles is not distance running is like
it's technically not, but
how's it not?
Because there's bigger distance. 5K, I think, is the shortest distance run you could possibly have.
Well, there are runs that are sprint distances, and there are runs that are endurance distances, right?
Okay, not miles are not long distance running.
Well, I didn't say long distance. I'm just
every run is a distance run if you cover a certain distance of
well, no. I'm talking about the difference between sprint and endurance. To me, if you're doing a distance of run that is involving endurance more than if you're not sprinting the whole time, it's a distance run. Does that make sense? No. Like if you and I are running a 400 meter, I'm sprinting for 400 meters, right?
Miles of sprint.
Not for normal people. Not for normal people, it isn't.
Well, for Troy and me, then yes, it is.
So you're telling me you're sprinting as fast as you possibly can for the full mile.
No, I know, but I'm going in.
That's what I'm saying.
5:32 speed.
If you have to pace yourself on the run that you're on, to me, that's a distance run.
Yeah, but you're sprinting a mile. You're anyway. What are we talking about? Damn it, Gabriel! All right, so we're at 9 minutes into the show, and we have not even really mentioned what the topic.
It's June 23rd. That's what it's for.
I know, right? People, now we're in a problem.
Listen to talk radio. They'll do 30 minutes before they touch.
Should we just keep going? I mean,
that's a good bit. On a day we have no topic, just open with whatever the chat has and see if we can do an hour on it.
We
probably could.
I almost made a mean joke at somebody in the market, but I didn't. Anyway,
it's there for the taking. I thought of a couple already.
Let's get into the topic at hand, because Jeffery Simmons, does he deserve a new contract? That's a question. Does he need a new contract? That's another question. Are those two questions have the same answer of yes or no? I think that's what we're here to discuss, because Easton, you've been looking around, obviously your job covering the team. You're just like searching the internet, like, just like a scavenger, like just
I appreciate
trying to find
the
nuggets,
lengths
right?
you're going to try to set me up for this.
Let
Let me just rip the Band-Aid off
here. Yeah, just rip the Band-Aid off of my blistered hand and we'll just keep going.
So you're kind of like tiptoeing around. Let me just put it the way that I want to put it, and we can leave it at this. I'm not saying I've heard anything, but I am saying that I have been bringing up, just kind of sprinkling Jeff Simmons contract question mark since before the draft, and that's not an accident or just because I'm bored. So there's a reason I keep bringing it up. That being said, that's why we're talking about it this morning. The Jeff Simmons contract. I'm not going to claim to be a contract expert because I'm not a contract expert. There are other people in this market who understand this better than I do. Frankly, I don't love getting into the weeds on contracts. It's just not my jam. But I know enough to be able to look at the contract on SpoTrack and understand when teams have outs, where guaranteed money ends, and the reason why on paper we want to talk about the Jeff Simmons contract is because I think when you look at his contract, which technically runs through, and do we have that? We can go ahead and throw it up for the folks to see it here on the screen. Runs through 2027, which the dates are cut off here, but that last year with money in it, that $23 million at 30 years old, that is 2027, and then he will be an unrestricted free agent in 2028. The team obviously has an out after this year where they can take a $9.6 million dead cap hit. And his cap number goes up pretty significantly afterwards. So the reason that I think that there's maybe not a new contract per se, but an extension or just doing some funny money movement on the contract, maybe also in the cards, whatever you want to call that,
right?
An old restructure, right? Is because his guaranteed money was of this $94 million contract. He saw $47.83 million of that guaranteed at signing, which included the signing bonus, the 2023 salary, the 2024 salary, and $6 million of this upcoming season salary. Now, the remainder of this upcoming season salary became fully guaranteed on March 16th of this year. So he now, in terms of guarantees, is seeing the last bit of his guaranteed money come into his bank account this year, which is going to be something on the order of $10 million. After this year, he has no more guaranteed money. He has no more cash that is guaranteed to be in his pocket. As you saw in the graphic, the team has an out after this year. So in terms of security financially and security on the roster, he does not have any after this season. And when stars do not have any kind of longitudinal security, there tends to be talk about an extension. There's another element of this that I'd like to talk about in a minute, but I don't want to bring it up before I hear your thoughts on the paper of it all, Austin. I think the mindset that I would suspect Jeff Simmons is in on this team in the current roster building situation that they're in also plays a part in this. But based on the contract on paper, do you agree that maybe it is fair to wonder if some contract changes are on the horizon?
If I'm Jeffery Simmons' agent who agreed to this deal, then I'm sure Jeff is telling me, hey, I don't have any more guaranteed money after this year. What's up with that? Like, what's up with that? We can go do the whole Kenan Thompson bit. But I would, if I was Jeffery Simmons' camp, I'd be pushing for some type of contract tweaking to be able to get some type of future guaranteed money, because that's not a good spot for a player to be in. And if you believe that he's the best player on the Titans roster, I think as of right now, Jeffery Simmons will have the highest. Yeah, I mean, he'll have the highest Madden rating of the play on the roster. Like, is he the most important piece moving forward or big picture? Like, who? That's completely thing, right? Different. So
he's not the quarterback, so the answer is no.
For sure. And he's not even an edge rusher. He doesn't get a lot of sacks. Like, is he a disruptive, really good player? Absolutely.
He might be the Titans' best pass rusher this year, so we'll see.
Maybe. So again, the point is, there could be some things that Jeff deserves, but how far do the Titans want to go? I guess.
Right.
It's kind of like the balance of trying to figure out how to make everybody happy or as happy as possible. with everybody to be across the happy line. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just, again, go over the contract again. So here's Jeffery Simmons' contract. He's got 3 years left, including this year where it's the age 28 year. So after this year, there is zero guaranteed money left on his contract. There's some dead money because that signing bonus proration that goes across the entirety of the deal. But after that, nothing. I mean, he's got $1 million of total on roster bonus money. And that year 30 year goes into the new stadium, right? And so people bring up Jeffery Simmons not being productive, not staying healthy. Well, here are his stats. This is for his entire career. So in 2019, when he played just 9 games, it's because he came out, he tore his ACL in the combine, which is the reason why the Titans could draft him at 19th overall, and he wasn't a top 10 pick. But he played 9 games after recovering from the ACL in the offseason. Then he missed 1 game in 2020, no games in 21, 2 in 2022, and then he missed 5 in 2023. And then just 1 this past year on the worst team in football. So and he's been battling, I would say, 2022 and 23, consistently battling a lower body ankle type injury for, Thanksgiving and on, it felt like, and didn't miss as many games as he probably could have. And I think that's where I give Jeffery Simmons a ton of credit, is his ability to play through it. I remember specifically, very vividly, the 2022 game against the Chiefs. I think it was a primetime game. Malik Willis started. They should have won that game.
I watched that game on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean.
Very impressive. You got signal for that. But so you saw that was the game.
If it wasn't Sunday Night Football, I wouldn't have watched it. I think that they just got the primetime game.
Yeah, but he came hard. He came down hard on that ankle in that game, and that's where I remember being the beginning of the ankle issues. So let's go ahead and ask the question to everybody here. It's a yes or no, but I think it's very interesting to see where people take it, because people have way more into their answers than just yes or no. Does Jeffery Simmons deserve a new contract from the Titans before the season? Does Jeffery Simmons deserve a new contract from the Titans before this season? We'll get to all of your opinions on that. First, we'll tell you guys about Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs, bartondrury.com. That is their website. Again, they are local and they strive to make sure that you understand exactly what you're getting from your insurance policies and what you need for your future insurance policies. And Zach and I were able to get our employee benefits through Barton Drury Insurance Group this past year. We looked really hard into all the different options we had as employers. We had our workers' comp policy through them and shopped our employee benefits around several different companies and found that the Barton Drury team was the best team for us to go to. Not only do they have those employee benefits and workers' comp, they've got 401k planning, life insurance. Now it gets more to the individual type coverage, liability, auto, property, umbrella, and the surety bond. So they're local and they strive to provide excellent service, but also want to take the time to make sure that you truly understand your policies, because it can be overwhelming, intimidating, and hard to understand. But they got you covered right there at bartondrury.com.
There is so much more to say, but first, make sure you've liked the show and then leave us a 5-star Google review. Search ATOZ Sports on Google, hit that 5th star on the right, and then say whatever you'd like. We appreciate your feedback. Your feedback is a gift. Send it to us in the form of a 5-star Google review. Thank you for doing those.
All right, Easton, I will send you the chat. I'm going to work up a YouTube poll here momentarily. But the question is, does Jeffery Simmons deserve a new contract from the Titans before the season? And so we know he's got no more guaranteed money on his deal after this season. He's got 2 years left, fully not guaranteed. So does Jeffery Simmons deserve a new contract from the Titans? What's the chat saying?
We were very split on this. Jonathan and Mel and Rooney all say yes. Eric and Mike and IR Hoshi say no. Cadero Bobo says, give me a hell no. And M Titan says no. David says no. Big Ten Jeff says no. Rashid says yes. Marco says yes. Pay him. Kendall says yes, but he deserves less. Okay, so pay him less. That's not really.
But guaranteed, but less. I mean, hold on. We can pause. If you're Jeffery Simmons, keep that comment up there, and I'm just going to pull up the contract alongside it, right? So, that works out beautifully. So, right now he's got $43 million that's not guaranteed, but it's on the contract. The Titans could cut him, and he sees none of that. So if Kendall is saying, like, would if you're Jeffery Simmons, would you rather have, I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers out there, $30 million guaranteed,
right,
or 43 that's not guaranteed?
Well, and this is the question about whether or not Jeff's motivation with a new contract will be based on longitude or based on guaranteed money, right? Is he looking for, because I don't think you're going to get both. Like at his stage, maybe you do. I don't know how this regime feels about him.
Right.
But at this stage in his career, he may have to choose between long-term security, let me just be on the books, locked in through my age 32 season or whatever he wants to be locked in through, or whether or not he sees, as big a chunk as he can bite off of the remainder of his money guaranteed. And I don't know what his motivation would be there. And I think that kind of opens us up to the emotion of this team that I kind of want to talk about. But let's go back to the chat.
Go back to the comments, because I got to put the YouTube poll too. Sorry.
Guy says yes. Jonathan says do it now while he's cheaper. I think there's some validity to the idea that you would be buying lower on Jeff Simmons right now. There's a chance that he has a much better year this year than he did last year, and he becomes.
I think that's relative to the other positional deals.
Yes, yeah. I mean, in the nature of the NFL, the smartest teams, when you have decided you're going to sign somebody, you do it yesterday. You do it as soon as humanly possible, because
identify and do it.
Guys never get cheaper. Stars in the NFL never ever get cheaper. It has never happened. So you do it now, and that's why teams like the Cowboys are morons, and that's why teams like the Eagles are really smart, and their deals always age really gracefully, and the Cowboys are constantly on the news for all the wrong reasons. Brian says yes, he's a run stuffer. He's really not at this point in his career. Lewis says yes, absolutely not, says Shrike. No, says Alan. No, says Edward. No, says Eric. I'm surprised. So I mean, the chat is leaning no. PB says no because Cam is the culture now. Well, you're not signing Jeff to be vibes guy. You're signing him to be the best player on the team.
Yeah. You can answer no, but not for that reason.
Right. And if you kind of answered the question accidentally there, because if you think that he's just there for the culture, then definitely doesn't deserve a contract, because you should be paying him all this money to be good at football, not to be fun in the locker room. Chris says no, he hasn't earned a new contract. And that's the question I have for all of the people answering no, is what does Jeff Simmons need to do to earn the contract to you people? Tall Texan, I don't know what this is, man. No, player empowerment has taken over the league. Play out your damn contract. He has played out his contract.
No. Like, I think Tall Texan saying play out, like you signed a 5-year deal. You've played 3 years of it. Or 2 years of it. And then you have this one and then 2 more. But I think the problem is
it's really a 3-year deal. That's what you
signed a bad contract.
Correct. And his agent.
And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Jeff's for agreeing to. It's Jeffery Simmons' fault.
Bottom line,
right?
Yeah.
It's his signature on his contract, not his representation's signature on his contract.
I mean, I would argue it's the agent's fault.
It's
his
fault.
One who hired the agent, so it's on Jeff.
It's Jeffery Simmons' fault that he signed a bad contract that did not have. And what's the motivation for the contract? Right? Is it the biggest total number that Adam Schefter tweets out?
It's. I don't think it's a bad. I mean, he's $60 million guaranteed for a defensive tackle, and that was 3 years ago. Like
but he puts himself in a situation where he's 28 years old, and he's not gonna. And then he's 29 years old,
right?
And has a zero guarantee. He's putting himself in a situation for why we're having the conversation right now.
I'd say it's a contract that aged poorly for him.
Yes, which is a bad contract. And it was a short-sighted contract.
Yeah, agreed. And to Tall Texan's point about player empowerment, this is. I mean, if I understand generally this idea that player empowerment can go too far, but the opposite of player empowerment is team empowerment. And teams have always, up until 10 seconds ago, always ruled with an iron fist when it comes to these things. And what we're talking about is the team being in a spot of maximum leverage here over Jeffery Simmons, who clearly thinks he's a very good player, because he is a very good player, because he's the best player on this team. But when you're the best player on a team, what you don't want is for the team to have all of the leverage in whether or not you stick around? And if so, for what amount of money? And that's what the situation is right now. And like, I'll go ahead and tell you this, unless he has an all-pro season, I don't think the team, when they hit this potential out this year, I think no matter what, the team is going to want to revisit the contract, because I'm not sure they're going to want to just keep him on the number at the cap hit, because he's about to be, what, a $25 million cap hit next year and 27 the following year. They're going to want to touch that in some way. Now, whether it's extending
28.
Yeah, okay, even worse than I thought. So whether that's a good extension for him or a bad extension for him, because he got to the end of his guarantees this year, had another year, and they're able to twist his arm a little bit, I guess. He doesn't have the option to just up and walk away. Now, he can demand a trade and do the whole hold in, hold out thing, but it's not like he's reached free agency and has the agency to go and do what he wants and test the waters on other deals. The team retains control over him contractually for the next 3 years, including this season. And so he's in a bad spot in terms of leverage. And it's why I'm sure he's wanting to relook at that contract now before we play this year.
Right. So, so some comments I'm going to get to that I think you and I both favorited along the way. There are some fans that I think are not truly understanding things. Like Nick.
Agreed.
Harold Landry gets twice as many sacks than Jeff. The Titans released him foolishly. That might be the most inaccurate opinion that we've had on the show today.
It's just like,
that's just
Nick, I'm
not
sorry, man.
At
it's
all
not it.
How it works. Like, I feel like that old lady like talking about like posting on the Facebook wall, like posting pictures on a wall. Like,
yeah, it's as shallow as it gets to just look at. First of all, they play different positions, Nick. So edge rushers are always going to get more sacks than interior defensive linemen. That's how it works. That's like saying, well, the running back sure did catch fewer passes than the receiver. Yeah, because it's the nature of their position to do those things. But number two, Landry got cut because he was really not good last year, consistently bad. And outside of the couple of cleanup sacks that he got, and he was a sack pad statter last year, shamelessly, watch him play in and play out. He was kind of useless a lot of the time on the field. There's a very good reason that they let him walk, and there's a very bad reason that Mike Vrabel decided to pay him a bunch of money to come to New England, which I can go ahead and tell you is not going to age well. It's not. No, he might clean up some more sacks and 10 sacks even for Harold Landry. But he's not going to be a good football player because he's no longer a good football player.
There's also a reason why when the Titans floated out, hey, Harold, go seek a trade, and nobody bit, and so you had to cut him like that. So I'm gonna come back to that. Cam Ward's burner. Jeff has not been good since signing. Trade him. It's better to let him go early than to hold him too long. Look, I agree with the general sense of it's better to let a player go too early than too long, but the idea that Jeffery Simmons has not been good since signing his contract
what
is
are we
foolish.
Talking about? He's been a top 10 defensive tackle in the league the whole time he's been around. The whole time. There have been times when we've discussed whether or not he is the top or one of the 2 or 3 top tackles in the league. There have been times that we've been disappointed with his production, and a lot of it's been because of injury hampering him, and the injury thing is a fair knock, even though it's not his fault. Like, well, can the guy stay healthy or not? But I don't think there's been a point that he's not been in the discussion for being one of the top 10 defensive tackles in the league for the past 4 years. He's the best player on your team. What are we talking about? There's a reason why when you talk to the coaches about Jeffery Simmons and their confidence in Jeffery Simmons and whether they're pleased with Jeffery Simmons, even when it seems like he's not pulling his weight to the untrained eye, they, without hesitation, without falter in their voice, say, we're not worried about Jeff. Jeff's doing his job. We love having Jeff around. Jeff's the man. Is he the perfect player? No. Is he right now one of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 defensive tackles in the league, truly game wrecking in the pass rush sense? No, he's not. Do I think he can be that this year? I do. I am honestly curious the way that he's done some body recomposition and gone away from the versatility of his game, because here's the other thing. Up until 10 seconds ago, when they brought T'Vondre Sweat in, Jeffery was having to pull double duty in the sense that he couldn't be a pass rush centric interior defensive lineman. He was having to really, really anchor the team in terms of run stop. And he did very well at that. But that requires a certain body type, a certain skill set, and you have to balance your game in terms of how often you are singularly focused on affecting the passing game or not. Now that T'Vondre Sweat is around and has a year under his belt of proving to be a fantastic run stopper who has some pass rush upside as well, but primarily a run stopping nose tackle. Jeffery Simmons, you've seen physically changed his body because now he can, and they're going to need him to, frankly, because of the other pass rushers on this team. I think he's going to kind of sell out this year on being a pass rush centric interior lineman. Now, he's not going to be bad against the run because he's still Jeffery Simmons, but he's not going to be tailoring his game to that. And I think it's going to lead to him being a better pass rusher.
Right. So Shrike has a comment that like I don't fully disagree with. I think it's a good comment for the discussion. Shrike says Jeff never developed the level of player they expected. As soon as he signed the contract, development stalled. He'll be 29 to 30 at the end of this contract, so he'll be on the downturn of his career. So, like, I think this is a fair comment for somebody that's saying, no, don't extend him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did he develop into the bona fide star that they thought when they drafted him at 19 in 2019? I mean, that's up to each individual person.
Oh, like, interesting. I'm thinking about this more about what they were expecting of him when they signed the extension, because in terms of whether or not he paid off the 19th overall pick, I think without question he did.
Okay, so let's look at it from the extension that he signed, right, which was Rand Carthon's doing right before the 23 season, right?
Right.
So has he lived up to that yet?
Right, and so that's the question. When they signed him, what was the team thinking he could be? Because again, when you draft somebody 19th overall, and they're a non-premium position, mind you, and if I told you in 4 years' time, you're still going to be looking at this, or how in 7 years, 6 years, 7 years' time, this guy's still going to be on your team, and you're going to be able to say with confidence that he's the best player on your team, then you hit the jackpot on that pick. Like that's a great draft pick. When they signed him to an extension after did they sign him after 3 or 4 years of his?
He got signed going into the 2023 season, which would have been going into his 5th-year option.
Right. Okay. So after 4 years, they signed him. I think at that point, and trying to think back to how we felt about Jeffery Simmons at that time, because that was when he was peaking. We were talking about him in the conversation with the Chris Joneses of the league in terms of the best game-wrecking defensive tackle. One of the, at any given time in the NFL, you can count on one hand. Sometimes you can count on one finger the number of guys that can truly take over a game from inside. And we thought that he could be that guy. And if that's what your expectation was when you handed out the $94 million contract, then I do think it's fair to say he has fallen just short of that expectation. So, now, the expectation was to be the best, and he is now just one of the best who is missing that gear you were hoping for. But if that gear is what you paid for, you didn't get that gear. So that's fair.
Okay, so I'm going to dive into this a different way. So I'm going to look. Jeffery Simmons is the 8th highest paid defensive lineman currently. Okay. So Chris Jones, number 1. Christian Wilkins, number 2. Right? Jeff is 8th behind Quinnen Williams. I think 2 years ago, those 4, and I don't care what order. Jeff's not 1, but he's not, he's 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah.
Best in the game. 2 years ago, those 4 would probably be all top 5 defensive linemen in the game. Whether Aaron Donald retired or didn't retire at the time, I can't remember.
Right.
So when you look at the other players that have now jumped Jeff in the highest paid at the position, their ages are younger than Jeff. It's Derek Brown, 27. Alan McNeil, 25. Matabuke from the Ravens, 28, but got it later. Milton Williams, who just got paid by the Patriots, 26. And then Christian Williams and Chris Jones. So I'm looking at, I think that's kind of the nature of it, though, right? It's Chris Jones is different. Like, he is 31 years old and is the best guy doing it still. That doesn't have, he's a Hall of Famer. So whatever. You're not going to, fight over that. Like, Jeffery Simmons was in that conversation when the contract was signed. And so now you're going to have guys like Matabuke and Derek Brown that are going to be rising. Like, younger guys are going to enter the fold. So has Jeffery gotten worse, or has he just been banged up for a couple of years on a bad football team?
Right.
And so that's where I push back on Shrike of the development never happened. I mean, he got hurt a couple times. And so I don't
He got
know.
hurt and was on a bad team.
Yes,
like, the bad team thing you cannot overlook.
A couple of the games
where has Chris Jones been playing the past couple of years?
Yeah, in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Where was AD playing? Also in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, these guys were on much better football teams.
Right. And Jeff was sat down a couple of times on purpose for the team. And that, but he would have played. So I think there's a lot of conflict there. So Kendall says, not to be hard on him, but when he signed, he was a top 2 or 3. Now he feels top 10. That's why I feel like he deserves less. Not too late to change that, though. And so, again, like, he's not going to take a pay cut. But so, Easton, do you think Jurrell Casey, I saw a Jurrell Casey comment. Do you think Jeffery Simmons deserves a new contract?
I do. I do think that if you're the Titans, assuming that he is, if I'm the Titans, unless he's knocking on my door, I'm not reaching out, right?
All right. So Ken says, has he asked for one? I haven't missed something. So kind of take me through when you answer the question, yes. Take me through the kind of the full offseason.
Yeah, publicly we've not heard that he has asked for one, but that's not something that you would hear publicly. That he's not, unless a player wants to make it messy, and Jeff, bug in my face. Jeff doesn't want. He doesn't have any incentive to make this messy. He doesn't have any incentive to air out the Titans' dirty laundry in any way. I'm sure they're handling it the way that they need to handle it, which is in-house. So to answer that question, no, we technically haven't heard that, but yeah, I think that being said, yes, he does deserve a new contract, because I am sure that he is addressing this with the team. And again, he is the best player on your team who has no guaranteed money after this year. Do I think he deserves some big pay raise? You said he's currently the 8th highest paid defensive tackle in the league. No, I think being a borderline top 5 highest paid guy at the position, given the rest of the league right now, is perfectly acceptable for him. And whether or not he's interested in guaranteed money now or longitude on his deal for some long-term security, I don't know. That's where the other question comes in for me, is that this is a guy that has been playing on some bad football teams the past 3 years and is probably staring down the fact that he, whatever you want to define as your prime, he's either in the thick of it or staring down the end of it.
Or both.
Right. Probably both. If you ask me, he's staring down the last couple years of his prime, I think is fair to say. And he's probably wondering to himself, hey, I'm a star. I'm awesome at this. I'm one of the best players in the league at this. I have made $60 million after this year is over. Do I want to focus on being a Titan for life and being a part of this team that is on the bottom floor right now, but appears to be heading in the right direction, and banking on the 3rd new quarterback in as many years now, who is as promising as anyone they've brought in? Or do I want to play out the string of my Titans career this year, say thanks for everything, and then ask for a trade and see if I can't go somewhere else that maybe isn't going to pay me as much, maybe would pay me more, frankly, depending on where you go, but is in a better position for me to succeed and potentially go win a ring. Like, that's the stage of the career that he's in. And he's already given a couple of good soldier years to a team that has gone nowhere. And I don't know if he may feel burnt by that. Them's the breaks in the NFL. Sometimes you don't play for a good team, but throughout he has been somebody that has not been a perfect leader by any means, but hasn't been making a big fuss about, I want to be on a team that wins, get me out of here. All of that stuff that you see other players on other teams do, and makes ugly situations even uglier. So I don't know what he values right now, but I do think that whether it's money or long-term security, it's time for him to get one of those things in a new contract.
Right. A comment I wanted to Malachi, I think, is just missing the boat here. So we're throwing the guy a bone to give him money because he's in his prime or at the end of it. That never happened. That's not what Easton's saying. I think Easton's talking about from Jeffery Simmons' perspective. Does he want to go try to restructure his contract or get a new contract because
Correct.
He's getting $0 guaranteed dollars left on it after the season? Like, that's, if you're everybody watching the show, if you were in Jeffery Simmons' shoes right now, you'd be doing the same thing.
Yes.
So, like, I want to make that clear. Nobody should hate on Jeffery Simmons for asking or being interested in getting more guaranteed money on his contract moving forward, because we'd all want the same thing. Now, should the Titans give it to him?
You'd be a fool to not knock on the Titans' door right now. It's not even that you'd want it. You'd be a moron of a business person to not be barking up this tree right now.
Right. So here's the question that we asked. I'm going to be very specific. Does Jeffery Simmons deserve a new contract from the Titans before the season? You said yes, Easton.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, 37% of the answers are yes, 63% are no on the poll. I am a no vote because I'm very focused on the before the season part of that question. Because, look, new GM from last year, Chad Brinker and Borgonzi are running the show compared to Rand Carthon a year ago. You remember a year ago, approaching the trade deadline, when the Titans sucked out loud, and we all knew it, that trade Harold Landry for something. He's easy to trade for. Why? Because there's no guaranteed money on his contract after this year. It's easy for somebody to just trade for him, use him for a playoff push, and then cut him and not pay him anything after that. What happened with Harold?
I'd kill to know, in hindsight, I would kill to know how much they tried. Because if you told me, hey, we, for weeks we kind of tried and just
if
no
they
one was
did,
fighting.
Then great. But they didn't try hard enough. Well, I don't know how hard they actually tried.
I don't either. There's a chance they didn't at all. And I think that would have.
Because the Lions are pretty damn desperate.
No, I know. It's just, I don't know if there's anybody willing to trade anything.
My thought is, I don't think they should give Jeffery Simmons a new contract because that ruins a chess piece in the season for the Titans. Because if the Titans suck by mid-October, and we know, all right, Cam, he ain't Jaden Daniels, he ain't Bo Nix. They're not going to the playoffs as a rookie quarterback. And you know that, but you have some optimism in the future, then you should move Jeffery Simmons. And you can do that. It would be easier for a team to take on Jeffery Simmons if they don't have to allocate guaranteed money down the future for Jeffery Simmons, right? So that's where I think you should wait until you get past that checkpoint of the trade deadline. And if Jeffery Simmons is on the team after the trade deadline, then okay, I'm down with that. I'm down to rework Jeffery Simmons' contract to help him get closer to where he wants to be.
Right.
Whatever he wants to be is guaranteed money, extra years, whatever. Get him closer to that. No, don't give him everything he wants, but negotiate, right? Do your deal. But that's the point. If he's on a roster past the trade deadline, then play ball with it.
Right. I definitely do hear what you're saying. And it makes sense. It's just when you do that, you're signing up for a couple things. You're signing up to pay him more money than you would if you sign him now. That's just the nature of time. It's going to be more expensive. You're also signing up for the possibility of him really running up that bill with a fantastic first half of the season and making himself, making you buy him at his peak as opposed to buy him at the dip. And you're also signing up for the possibility of a drawn out, dramatic negotiation period that's in the news a bunch that, you may start to, for the first time, see Jeffery Simmons be publicly disgruntled with the Titans. And it become a big fiasco, and whether or not you're willing to weather that storm.
Can I answer your questions?
Mm-hmm.
One by one.
Sure.
He might raise his price. So this is the hypothetical that he's on the team after the trade deadline.
Right.
And my point is, if he is on the team after the trade deadline, the Titans are competing for something. Not necessarily the playoffs, but they're kind of in the mix. Right?
Maybe.
In the mix-ish.
You got to find somebody to be willing to pay you something for. There's a chance that they're bad and nobody wants to trade.
For sure. But if Jeffery Simmons has raised his price, then he's playing well. Good. Because guess what? I don't care about his price because the quarterback is as cheap as he's going to be. And if he's good enough and you got optimism behind it, I don't care. You can pay him. You can pay him for the next few years while Cam Ward's as cheap as he's ever going to be. Right? So that's fine. He's not going to get attention. He's not going to be drawn out in the news. What news? What team?
Oh, I think you are selling it so short.
Come on. Locally,
well, obviously
great.
locally.
That's fine. That's part of it. But The national media is not going to give a damn about the Titans contract dispute with a 29-year-old defensive lineman. Like, they're not going to care.
I don't know.
They're not going to care. They already don't care about Jeffery Simmons. The national media.
See.
So I don't think they care. So I
think they care about drama, and that'd be drama.
They care about drama that other people care about. The nation does not care about the Titans' drama.
I can think about some contract disputes with different teams that are for lesser players that have been in the national news.
What teams?
I mean, we're talking about a rookie on the Bengals.
Yeah, because the Bengals are funny to laugh at. And the Bengals are way
People love to laugh at the Titans. What are you talking about? It's the national media's favorite pastime.
They have Joe Burrow, and like the Bengals are talk about poverty franchise.
Okay, and we're talking about the midpoint of the season where you could say, well, the Titans have Cam Ward.
Okay, well, again, Joe Burrow and middle of the season Cam Ward are not even close to each other.
I'm talking about in terms of interest, news interest, not talent.
They're not going. No, he's the number 1 overall pick, and they haven't talked about him. This is not how that works.
And by the middle of the season, what were we doing with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams at the middle point last season? They were leading First Take every Monday morning.
Yeah, the Chicago Bears and the nation's capital.
Okay, and
two eyes.
If you're good, this is the NFL. If you're good, they talk about you. No one cares.
No, they don't. We've been over this. See 2020. See 2021.
No, dude.
See 2019.
The news leaders of the NFL for the past half decade are a team from Kansas City, Missouri. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because they have the
Green Bay, Wisconsin
quarterback in the sport. That's different because it's a national brand.
And if you have the first overall pick that's good and interesting, Green Bay is different. Kansas City is not this big national brand until Patrick Mahomes made them that. Yeah, if Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick, is good and interesting and the Titans are exciting, you'll be talking about them at the midpoint of the season.
Oh,
I single-handedly got the Titans on First Take in November last year. That Titans team, I got them to be a First Take segment.
It's true.
You can do it.
Did do that.
You can do it. They'll talk about anything. If it's dramatic and interesting, they will talk about it. Even if it's a terrible Titans team that's going nowhere.
Yeah. All right. So I just don't think I don't think any of the questions that you've posed are that big of a
deal breakers.
Yes. I think the Titans would be fine to mess with it. So my answer is no, I would not extend Jeff before the season. So
question. 1 second side question.
Okay.
Do you think there's a chance that if the Titans say to Jeff, because he's knocking on the door right now, and they're like, hey, let's wait till after the trade deadline and then maybe mid-season we'll address it. Do you think there's any chance that Jeff makes a fuss about it before the season?
Well, you don't tell him that.
What do you tell him? You say, let's just wait?
Yeah, we're not there yet.
If you don't, okay, yeah, but if you don't say it explicitly, like
Mike Borgonzi, they have the best excuse in the world. Mike Borgonzi just got to know Jeff. He hasn't seen him. Mike Borgonzi's a first-year GM here.
But whether or not you're explicit about your reason for wanting to wait, the fact is from Jeff. No. But the fact is, from Jeff's standpoint, the reason why he's knocking on the door now is because he's saying we need to do this. Like, I'm not willing to wait, no matter your reason. I'm not willing to wait after this year. That's the whole point of me knocking.
Then you will get fined.
Right. So my question is, do you think he would make a fuss about it this August if they say we're waiting?
The last guaranteed money that he has in his contract, he's not going to lose it.
It's already guaranteed.
Oh,
there's nothing to lose.
I mean, he doesn't be fined. The fines can rack up, and now
but those fines are chump change in comparison to the millions.
But it would be dumb. Players can't sit out and then be good again.
Players hold in all the time. He could just hold in and make the money.
Hold in?
Yeah. You show up. You just hang out.
You just show up and just don't practice, don't play.
Yeah. This has been a big thing for the past couple of years. Micah Parsons did it. Like, you show up.
But eventually,
Chris Jones held in.
Yeah, but I don't think the Titans are going to, again, they have the easiest excuse / reason in the world of Mike Borgonzi's like, I just got here. I want to see you go out there and do it before I give you more money. This is the contract you signed.
I'm not discrediting hold-ins. I understand your rationale for why Borgonzi would want to wait. I'm asking you, do you think Jeff Simmons would make a fuss about it this August? And I think the answer is he would.
Probably.
Okay.
But for how long? It's just going to be a game of chicken, and the organizations usually win for the most part.
I just find that interesting because he has never done the dirty laundry public thing with the Titans. They've never forced him to. But I could see that changing.
Okay. Andre super chat. His leadership being brought into question also hurts him. Titans got to take the blame for not having legit edge rushers and competent linebackers around him for sure. Bad team. So last couple of years, we know that. All right, let's talk a little bit about this because Lloyd Cushenberry is recovering from an Achilles injury, and we all saw what happened with Tyrese Halliburton last night in the Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Would you have done, or what would you have done if you were Tyrese Halliburton? Would you have played in Game 7, or would you have sat out with that calf strain, right? Calf strain turned Achilles tear. We've seen this now twice in the NBA Finals with Kevin Durant and Tyrese Halliburton. Jason Tatum tore his Achilles back earlier in the playoffs. Would you play in Game 7 or sat out Game 7 with a calf strain that felt like it was heading towards an Achilles tear? So we'll get to that here in a second. First, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. We're going to try to effort a doc talk this week because of the Achilles situation in the NBA and how it applies to Lloyd Cushenberry, the starting center for the Titans, coming off the same injury, and figure out where Lloyd could be along his recovery rehab journey, depending on what month he's in, how ready for the season could he be, what's the difference in Achilles injuries and rehab from an NBA type body athlete to an offensive lineman. There's so many questions to get into, and the Bone and Joint Institute has the experts to help us answer those questions. And so I'll be looking for a doc talk later on this week. Hopefully get that on the schedule. Everybody's schedules are weird this time of year with vacations and who knows what. But make sure that whenever an injury pops up in your life, Bone and Joint is the place to go in Franklin off I-65 and Highway 96, boneandjointtn.org.
Yeah, Halliburton and Cushenberry, slightly different athletes. I've seen them both.
Different body style.
Little bit different. Yeah. There's so much more to say about the sad Trojan on our screen, as Big Jeff said, Roman's sad face. But first, make sure you have liked the show and leave a 5-star Google review for us. Very helpful. We appreciate those. Go to Google, search ATOZ Sports, hit that 5th star on the right, and then say whatever you'd like. Leave us your feedback. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, so what would you have done if you were a Halliburton? Played in Game 7 or sat out, knowing that you had the calf strain? So I want to see, and you're answering the question here in hindsight, knowing that he tore his Achilles.
Right.
And that's, look, he is out for next season.
Mm-hmm.
He did get a Supermax contract from the Pacers, so good for him. At least he's got paid, but man, it is just
so bad.
Like that sucked. Like it sucked to see that happen. So, all right, what are you seeing from the chat here?
Major Key says you might as well play. Rashid says Kobe did it, so why not? Bearded
Cooney kind of ended Kobe's career,
right?
He was also like 38. So
yeah, all 3 Achilles tears this offseason in the NBA, this postseason rather, and all 3 of them wore the number.
Dame, yeah.
All 3 wear the number 0, which is kind of weird. Dame.
Ooh. X-Files music.
Yeah. So, Jason Tatum and Tyrese. Devin says you never sit. Donald says Game 7 for a title. I would take the risk. I would have played, then regretted it. Of course you play. It's for all the marbles. You got to play. You got to play. Austin, come on, it's Game 7. I'm seeing everybody say you got to play. You got to play. You got to play. Austin, do you agree with the chat? Do you got to play?
So here's how I would. So personally, I would have played.
Good answer.
The media member in me.
No, here we go.
Is no longer going to hate on people that choose to not play through something like this. And I think I have good track record with this going, and this is not new for me. Marcus Mariota did something kind of similar. Remember 2018, last game of the season, winning it in. He sat. Why? Because he had nerve issues.
In his elbow, throwing elbow.
And it could have changed his, Marcus Mariota is still playing in the NFL, still getting NFL money as a backup,
right?
Going around the league. But if he would have played and something would have happened with his nerve and his elbow and his throwing elbow, would he still be earning NFL checks to this day?
Right.
I don't know.
And that was a high leverage spot because the NFL gave him they moved that spot into the last window, the 200
last regular season game
or whatever
season.
Prime time against the a Titans Jaguars game in prime time, but it was a win and in. So the NFL said, okay, fine. And then it wasn't until, or excuse me, Titans Colts. And then it was, it was like hours before the game that was announced, right? It was speculation all week long. And then it was all aboard the Blaine train. Blaine Gabbert and company are going to be leading the charge. And it went exactly how you expect it to go. Bad.
So I'm not going to hate on a player that makes a business decision when it's something like that. And I tweeted this last night, the calf strain is going to be the most feared soft tissue injury in sports history. Yep. Because we've seen so many calf strains turn Achilles tendon tears.
It is a direct pipeline.
It's like, that is stupid to do that.
It's the most obvious compensation injury of all time, right? Because like your calf and your Achilles both operate to move your leg forward. And when one of them is not working, the other one has to pull some extra weight. And that other one has a whole mythological pantheon behind how
force.
Right. How big a deal it can be for you to tear it and how it happens relatively often.
Yeah. And so, people are saying, JC Austin, you better have said your manhood was hanging in the balance. Okay, whatever. But like, would I have played?
You do have to play in Game 7 of the NBA.
I would have played. But again, my point is like, I am not going to hate on a player not to play. Like if Tyrese Halliburton would have said, I can't do this.
Really?
Then I would not have hate on him.
I find your general premise perfectly reasonable. And I'm going to agree in principle. But there are certain applications where you lose me. And one of those applications is playing in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I would have been like, dog, I get it. But you can't not. You have to play. You have to.
Okay. Like,
and Austin, it would have been different if he hadn't played in Game 6, right? If he hadn't played in Game 6, if before Game 6 is like, he just can't. He can't go. Like, it's not, he can't get out there and run. You're bummed, but it's like, I get it. And then if he can again in Game 7, it's like, man, double bummer, but I get it. But the fact that he got hurt in Game 5, played in Game 6, not well, but like he looked to be moving just fine. Whether they probably shot him up or whatever it was. You can't play through the injury in Game 6 and then sit Game 7.
I mean, you could. It could get more tender. Absolutely. Like there could be.
Narratively, you can't do that.
You can.
You can't gut it out in Game 6. Look as good as you did as a move. Because again, it's not like you looked like, oh, look at him out there for 48 minutes. He was just straining. He looked fine in Game 6. He looked fine. So you have to play in Game 7.
It's a ticking time bomb. Like, you know that.
Yes, but it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals. You'll probably never get back here. You probably will never ever get back.
Easton, I'm not saying that I wouldn't play. Like, I give a ton of props.
No, I know you're not. But you're saying that if he hadn't played,
I would not have hated on him.
No. Oh no.
I have proof of that because I didn't do that with Marcus Mariota.
No, I'm not even saying I'm not calling you a liar. I'm saying you're crazy for not hating.
No, I would not have done that.
There's a big difference between winning in NFL playoffs and Game 7 of the NBA Finals, a thing that has happened 21 times in NBA history.
Game 7s?
Mm-hmm.
Like you texted me that last night. I'm like, that's like, okay. Like, that's 21 times in NBA history. Like, dating back to
in the 100-year history of the NBA. Like, it's a rare thing to happen. And is
it that rare?
To get to the seventh game of a series?
One of the NBA Finals?
Yes.
If it happens out of every 5 times, I don't think it's that rare.
Well, it's happened twice in my lifetime, or maybe 3 times.
Okay, so that's different.
It's actually, and that's the other thing is
I would use that stat
back during the Celtics dynasty in the 50s and 60s. It happened like 4 or 5 times in 10 years.
Okay, so yeah, 20% is not rare, but like
the rate at which it happens has gone down. The rate at which it happens has gone down, and more importantly. Is that if you go through the pantheon of those now 21 NBA Finals Game 7s, it's a bunch of all-time classics. Like almost all of them were
knock them out,
one-digit games. The best players in the history of the league played in them. It's pantheon stuff. So you have to play. It's NBA
again.
pantheon.
I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying again. I still stand by that. Yeah, I am no longer going to hate on a player for not putting himself in a situation for a devastating injury. When it's a calf strain, Drake should go change the lyrics to the song. Ain't nothing to play with.
Generally, I agree, but not in Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
I'm not gonna. So you would have hated on him if he didn't play?
I mean, I wouldn't have like put him in a locker or anything, but I would have said, based on how he played in Game 6, I would have said it's insane. No, you know what? I would have put him in a locker. I just said it's insane that he's not playing in this game, despite the risks. It's insane based on how he looked in Game 6. You're the star of the team. You have to play. You have to.
You have to look and see, like, the injury could have gotten worse in Game 6. Absolutely. Calf strain it probably did.
It's not about if it's better or worse. It's can you or can you not play? And
he clearly couldn't.
He clearly could have. He clearly couldn't because it moved
popped.
Fine.
Yeah, and then it popped because he probably had so much adrenaline.
Can you start or can you not? You can, but it's a ticking time bomb. You can't.
I also think like goes off. With a calf strain that's progressively getting towards an Achilles tear, I think I can. I'll give you Game 6. Let's see if I can help you guys get to a Game 7, and we'll address it then. And that's kind of what happened.
It's outrageous. By the way, you know who finished last night with the most threes in that game?
No.
Tyrese.
4? He
made 3.
Oh,
he made 3 at the very beginning of the game, and nobody made more than 3 the rest of the night. So it's just that is the thing that it's like
not attempted.
Yeah. Made threes. He was 3 for 3 or maybe 3 for 4. And was like hot to start and then leaves, and it's just it's a what could have been thing, because he's a guy that is a finicky star in the sense that sometimes he doesn't show up till the end of the game, right? And the fact that he was hot early makes you wonder what would that game have looked like if he played the whole way. Because it wasn't just that they lost. Like he's the kind of player that is not like, oh, if you lose him, you lose 40 points. But just the wind was knocked out of the sails. You could feel it. It was palpable in the game.
It was just the worst thing that could happen.
And they kind of emptied the tank emotionally and stuck with it and led by 1.5. And it was like, this team's doing it for Tyrese. But then they came out of halftime and it's just you could feel that it was over pretty quickly.
We all knew that, right? Like we all felt it and saw it.
Just tough.
It sucks.
The last thing I want to say about Achilles, and I was talking to some friends that I was watching the game with last night. We've gotten to a point where, it's just literal, miracles from God, in my opinion, the way that modern medicine has kind of solved all of these injuries that as early as 20 years ago were the end of your career, right? Like 20 years ago, you pop an ACL. There's a chance there's a decent chance you never look the same. It's not about never coming back. It's about looking the same, right? Like when Adrian Peterson comes back off the ACL and has the best, rushing season he's had, like that was hailed as the miracle that it was. Cause you're like,
I also think that screwed over future ACL tears. Like, cause that was not normal.
Right. No, that was a literal fluke of nature.
Yeah.
But like a lot of these serious muscle and tendon and ligament injuries 20, 30 years ago, there's a decent chance you're never the same. Tommy John, stuff like that in baseball, where it's like, oh, this guy just can't throw heat anymore. And we've gotten to the point in the big 2025 where pretty much all of these things you come back from, and it feels like every year the timeline for you to come back and look 100%, it's like, oh, it's a month faster than they used to. It's another month faster than they used to. We're 6 months, we've got people like Kevin Winston Jr., who are not even 7 months removed from their ACL tear, running 40-yard dashes at a pro day, sprinting all out to connect it back to the top of the show.
Or whatever
he was right. To get back to the question at the top of the show, he was sprinting very quickly after his ACL tear. So it's just weird that of all of the injuries, the Achilles is like the one we still haven't figured out.
Somebody said
there's something about it that you just it's a big risk and it's a long timeline to recover. And I want to ask, write this down for our doc talk. What is it about the Achilles that makes it hard for us to quote unquote solve in modern medicine?
That's a good one. That's a great one. I wanted to see if I could scroll back to the very top, because somebody was like, that's my worst fear is tearing your Achilles. Same. Like it tearing my Achilles as a 35 plus year old human is a terrible fear that I have. Yeah, Kindle. Because like I had nothing to rehab for. Like it's just going to significantly affect the
It's
rest
gonna screw
of
up my life.
Yeah. Like, yeah,
like
crazy.
I'd way rather tear my ACL than my Achilles. Way.
Yes. And I tore my ACL at 19. Like, I was young enough to, and actually, like, I didn't lose like valuable high school experience from that, but I was also young enough to be able to get back pretty quickly.
Right.
But now, hell no, that would just be, it would be depression. Just instant, like, over, life done, just because of that. So, yeah, crazy. So I did see this comment from Devin. All sports are turning into soccer falls. Like, okay, that are you saying
Flopping.
all sports are becoming soft, flopping?
He's saying a lot of flops out there.
Okay, like, and so
there is more flopping today than there has been in past.
Because there's more to gain from it. It's because we're
rewarding the flopping.
Yes. I also think, as far as like people say soccer flops for injuries and like faking injuries or being overprotective of injuries, it's because now it's flipped. Back in the day, you couldn't afford to not play because you'd lose money.
Right.
Now the money's too big to mess with by playing hurt.
Right. And there's way more guaranteed money. So there's a lot more guys that are in a position than there used to be who can afford to not play.
Exactly.
Because they're getting paid nonetheless.
Yeah.
This year, the moment of the year for flopping was, did you see the clip? It was, I think, it's a regular season game. LeBron gets hit in the face, goes to the ground. And then looks with a very serious. He's like doing the
like peekaboo.
He peekaboos at the ref to see if he's looking at him. It's if you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you. And there's a slow motion, like tight, like it was like a bump shot, and they're like, we're going to break because LeBron's hurt, and it's like and then it shows LeBron just up close, like looking at the ref, and you're like, all right, the flop, like Nick says in the chat.
It's so funny.
Really
all right,
funny.
you ready for Rockin Rando?
Let's do it.
All right, Rockin Rando time, where I try to name the most popular NFL player from the past that I don't think Easton might know. So let's see if the chat knows this and Easton doesn't. But shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. So can I find somebody that I think the chat will mostly know that Easton won't for our Rockin Rando on this Monday? Try to expose Easton's youth of football's past. So, Easton, I went Indianapolis themed with this.
Oh no, okay.
Who is this Colt?
That is Ryan Gosling in Remember the Titans.
Close.
It kind of looks like him.
Not Allen.
Yeah, it's not immediately obvious to me. White guy, receiver. Wearing he might be a tight end, but he looks kind of slender to be a tight end. Yeah, I'm sure, given that it's a Colt, I'm sure I'm gonna know who this person is when you tell me, but nothing's ringing. I know it's not Dallas Clark. I know that because I know
it is not Dallas Clark.
But that's the only guy that fits this bill in my brain. And it's not Austin Collie. I know that too.
Are you looking at the chat?
Colt. No. I just these I'm thinking of white Colts.
Okay, because you named those other two white Colts along the same time that the chat did.
Is the chat right? Is that
the chat? The portions of the chat is correct, but yes, Dallas Clark has
two people I named, right?
Dallas Clark has been mentioned.
Okay,
as has Austin Collie, and it is neither of those guys.
Those are the only white Colts that come to mind for me from this.
The period. Only one.
So. From the pass catching white Colts from this period that come to mind. There's also a guy named Peyton Manning I can think of. No, but I'm sure I'm going to know.
Peyton Manning was a white Colt and a white Bronco.
That's true. Did this white guy play with the white guys that I mentioned, or a different era?
He played with two of the white Colts you've mentioned.
So Peyton and one of the other two. I'm going to guess he didn't play with Austin Collie.
That's correct, because they would have been redundant of one another. Just giving you more hints.
Okay, so not a tight end. Which that was dumb of me. I just looked at the 83 and assumed, but he's totally not a tight end. Look at this guy. I don't know. Give it it's lame to just tell me. Can you give me initials now that I've officially lost to see if I can get it?
BS.
Brandon Stokely.
Brandon Stokely. You got there.
Yeah.
That doesn't count though as one.
No, it doesn't count. It doesn't count. I redeem some portion of pride when I can get it based off the initials. But yeah, so Brandon Stokely, good player. Not the best player, but good player.
Good. I mean, he was like the fourth catching option. He had Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark, and Brandon Stokely.
Really good teams.
Yeah, he ate up the middle of the field because everybody else paying attention to the Hall of Famers.
right, exactly.
Edgerrin James in the backfield too, like crazy.
Life sure is good when you got all the attention taken off of you by a bunch of Hall of Famers.
Yep. All right, guys, that's it for us on this Monday. Hope everybody had a great show, enjoyed the show, like the show. If you did. If you didn't, please like it. Subscribe to the channel too. Hit that like button on the way out the door. And Buck Rising live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime. Be back tomorrow morning on Tuesday. Appreciate it as always.